Hey again, welcome back to week 2 of Coding at Home. Hopefully you guys are well on your way to becoming real app programmers, and you're ready to dive back into the Learn to Code playgrounds. Before we jump back into that, we'll just have a quick recap, and I'll point out a few resources that I've created for you to feel a little bit more support in your coding journey. So we have a new discussions board up on the codehub.ie. You can go register there. There's a few different forums where you can ask questions about specific sessions that we've gone through, either commands, functions so far. After today, there'll be one for for loops. There's also going to be things up there like ideas for future sessions that I've come up with. I'd love to hear some of your ideas. And then I'd love to see if you could post some of your homework. We gave you a bit of homework on Friday to try to work through that last playground page and see if you could come up with a solution that used functions well and didn't repeat your code too much. And I'd love to see what you came up with, even if you take a look at the solution that we came up with today and just implement that yourself. The other place that I've added is a Google Classroom. You can join with that code that you can see on the screen there. That's another place for you to post your homework, screenshots, progress, questions, if that's easier for you than joining the forums. I also had an email over the week from Bill Chapman at the University of Illinois. He sent me a link to some of the videos that he recorded about these playgrounds and his journey through these playgrounds that he's recorded for his students. And I think they're excellent resources. They're really well done. They walk you through all the different ways you could go wrong, as well as how you might want to make yourself better as a programmer. And any chance you get to practice programming will make you a better programmer. All right, so with that, let's jump back to the playgrounds and jump back to the iPad and see how we're getting on with our work from last week. Okay, so today we're going to be working through for loops, but before we get to for loops, we're going to check in quickly on our playground from last time. So we're going to go back to Learn to Code 1. If you're new to us this week, there are a bunch of videos on our kids.code playlist on YouTube, or you can watch the videos here on Twitch and go through our previous sessions that we recorded. We showed you how to set up a lot of this stuff. So that might help you out if you feel like you're a little bit stuck. Okay, so where we were last time, this was our homework. We were in the functions section here, and we got to this treasure hunt item at the end here. You can see that I don't have a green check next to it because I haven't completed it yet. And basically what we asked you to do was to try and complete this particular puzzle using a couple functions, and we had to write them ourselves. So you can see, if you remember from last week, this is our syntax for a function: func, move, then toggle, with our open and close parentheses at the end, and then these braces here tell us this is the code that's going to get executed when we call that particular function. So you can see I've got one function here and another function called solve end toggle. And from inside this function, I call my other function. So you can see this is using some of our nested functions knowledge that we gained last week. We move, then toggle, turn left a couple times. You can see these funky green things here with a couple of double slashes at the beginning. These are called comments. We can talk about that a little bit more later, but basically they're kind of helpful letters to your future self, is how I like to think of them. They are a way of, when you're writing the code, if you leave a note or a comment like this, you can sort of tell yourself later, oh yeah, this is what you meant by this particular thing. I can see here that, oh yeah, okay, well I moved in toggle and then I turn around and then I move back too. I've been kind of helpful to myself because I might not remember immediately when I come back to this code. I've been off doing other things, working in the garden over the weekend, taking walks. I'm not necessarily thinking of code all the time. So it helps to have these notes to myself to say, oh, okay, yeah, this is going to solve the one in front of us here, and then the one behind us. And then you can see I got a little bit lazy and stopped commenting. So this is our prospective solution. So let's try running it and see what we have. We'll run it and we'll step through the code so we can see how we jump through this particular code. So let's see, we're going to start here at solve end toggle because these are, remember, functions that we've told Swift to remember. Now we're executing some of those functions. Move forward, we're going to jump back out, call solve end toggle again, and it jumps back up into our code. Okay, cool, we've solved the short end. We can turn. Now we don't call our solve end toggle, right? We just call move then toggle in this case, because that's how we figured out that we would solve this particular puzzle. And we only use our solve end toggle function for those very end bits. Now some of you might have come up with a different pattern to follow here, and you may have said, actually, do you know what? I can break this down even more efficiently. I don't have to have as much jumping around as you can see here. Maybe you can solve it with less lines. Excellent. So we finished this particular puzzle, and that concludes our foray into functions. So we've covered commands and we've covered functions, which are two critical building blocks in your programming arsenal. They're very similar. Commands are actually just functions, but it happens to be something that someone else has implemented. So what we're going to do today is we're going to go back to books, and we're going to check out our for loops. So for loops are one of my favorite things about programming, because I've talked about how as programmers we're kind of lazy. For loops are an excellent example of that. The computer, we can tell the iPad to do something over and over again, thousands of times, and it won't get bored because it'll just execute the code that we've given to it. If you tell me to do something thousands of times, there's a good chance I'm going to get bored doing it, and I'm sure you're the same way. So it's really handy to be able to write these for loops and write a few lines of code and have the computer go off and do amazing things with it. The example here in the book that they give is patterns. So, if I were to draw this particular pattern out of these three turtles swimming towards each other, it might take me a little while. They might not come out exactly the same. Maybe I want them to be all uniform. In this case, this looks like I could say, actually, if I had a computer draw this, I could have it draw it once with the star and the turtle, and then repeat that pattern 3 times. And I'll have only written the code to draw the turtle once. So what we're going to do is we're going to leap right into that, and we're going to try the first couple of playground pages for for loops. So let's jump back to Swift Playgrounds. And we could hit the next arrow, or we'll navigate through the table of contents. And remember, for both functions and commands, there was this special introductory section for each playground. This kind of explains a little bit more about for loops and the particular concept we're tackling, and walks us through it. So in this case, this is pretty relevant. I'm sure a few people, given the nice weather here in Ireland this weekend, were out in the garden planting. So imagine you're helping someone plant seeds in a garden. And I'm sure you got these same kind of instructions. Hey, for each of these 4 seeds, make a hole, put the seed in the hole, and then move 5 inches forward. So that's kind of a for loop. If someone said, hey, plant these seeds and do it over and over again, repeat this action, this is what it would look like in code. So for each seed in 1.4, and then inside these brackets here again, we have our kind of fake code. Make a hole, place the seed, move 5 inches forward. These would be functions or commands, right? Like we saw last week. This particular funny looking thing here, the 1.4, you can probably guess what that means. What it's going to do is it's going to loop through the numbers from 1 to 4. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and do it that many times. So you can see we've just turned those kind of pseudo that pseudocode into things that look a bit more like real code. So make hole is our function for making a hole. Place seed is our function for placing a seed. And then move 5 inches forward is the action that moves us 5 inches forwards in a function. So it seems pretty straightforward. Let's get to the code and see what we have. All right, so at the top again, we've got our goal is just to use a for loop to repeat a sequence of commands. Now we've already been using commands so far, right? Like our move forward, collect gem, toggle switch, turn left. So that part's pretty familiar to us. The new part here is this adding a loop. So let's see. So we have a puzzle here, and we want to do something so many times. But we also want to let's start over. We want to solve this particular puzzle, right? And we're going to do it a few times. It looks very similar, right? We've got Byte standing here. He's going to move once, twice, 3 times. On the second move, he's going to collect the gem, and then he'll get portaled back here, and then start it all over again. So what I like to do in this case is let's solve the first instance. So we've got 1, move forward, collect the gem, and then move forward. So let's do that. So we're going to move forward, collect the gem, and then move forward once more. Okay, so if we hit run my code now, because we've written the code to solve this particular row, let's hit run my code. Ooh, we have an error. We have that little red dot that we'd like to avoid. But it's telling us we have an error. Check your code around this line to fix it. Error, you need to fill in this placeholder. Okay, that's not too bad. This is one of the more understandable error messages we might get. So if we tap on number, it'll highlight the whole thing. And it's looking for a number. We could put, because we can type anything, we could put chicken. If we hit run my code, this is a little more cryptic. Use of unresolved identifier chicken. Okay, so Swift knows nothing about chicken, so let's try just using a number. So if I bring up the keyboard, here, let's show you that again. I'm going to bring up the keyboard by tapping this little caret here. And now I'm going to type in a number. Let's say, how many times should we do this? We just do it once to start off with? What do you think is going to happen here? Let's try it. Okay, there we are. We're moving forward. Collecting the gem. We move forward. Oh, and we went through the portal. Okay, and then we stopped because we just performed this loop once. We can play around with this number and try running it 0 times. Oh, and we got to check our code. All right, so we can either reset the page and start over, or we can say okay and fix it ourselves. So let's delete that. And let's see, how many times are we going to perform this? So that was once, twice, 3, 4, 5. Let's try 5. And we'll hit run my code, and we're actually going to step through my code this time to watch as Byte steps through each one of these elements. Okay, cool. So we're inside the loop. We're moving forward. Now we're still inside the loop because it's going the second time through. Still inside the loop because we're going the third time through, doing our move forward, collect gem, and then move forward. All right, we've got a lot of repeating patterns here. Okay, oh, we're on that last row. Nice. Okay, great. So we used the loop to solve this puzzle without too much pain. You can see that this is kind of, if we bring it back to sort of a real world analogy, you can imagine building a TikTok dance out of this. Or if you're watching an animated GIF and it's repeating over and over again, that's a loop, playing over and over again those same video frames. All right, so let's go on to the next page by hitting this button here. Now remember, if you do get stuck on any of these, and we say we delete Oh yeah, let's add a line here. That we do have this hint button over on the side. Now right now it's just telling me nice work, but if we were to reset this page and try it all over again, this button down here will give us hints if we get really stuck. Okay, cool. Now we've got some existing code. This is a really good example of how you might approach a particular problem. Imagine we've written this code here because we've solved a particular edge. So let's run my code and see what this particular code does. Someone else has written this for us. We're going to check out what it does. All right, move forward, collect gem, move forward, move forward, move forward, turn right. Okay, cool, we solved one edge. Not bad. Now, I ran that code to see what it did. Another interesting exercise you could do is actually try walking out yourself, either on the screen or like in real life, walking around your room. If you have enough space, you could say, all right, well, cool, what do? I'm going to move forward, collect gem, move forward, move forward, move forward, and then turn right. Okay, that's cool. This is a useful thing to do when you're reading through code, especially if it's code that someone else has written, just so you can get an idea of what it is they're trying to do. All right, so in this puzzle, we want to collect all 4 of these gems though, right? So we need to probably run these commands over and over again, because if we look at this puzzle, all the sides are the same length, the gems are the same distance apart, so we can probably shove this into a loop for ourselves. So there's a couple ways to solve this problem. We could actually do this without using a loop. So if we select it all, and I just tapped here at the end of everything, I tapped once, and I hit select all. And if I tap that selected area, I can copy it. Need a little more space. I'll paste it in. All right, so how many times do I have to do this? I have to do this 4 times, right? So let's paste that in. Okay, cool. If we look, we've just written a fair chunk of code. So let's try running this. And we'll watch Byte go through the initial bit of code that was already written for us. And now it's going to be around this area. Collecting the gem, move forward, move forward, move forward, turn right. Let's go to the next. There we go. And then we're going to jump onto the last one. Okay, we did it, kind of, but the sort of assessment of how we did is telling us, hey, don't forget to use a loop. It'll be much simpler, because if you look at this, this is a lot of code. If I make a mistake in here, in one of these, if I say forget to collect the gem, this code isn't going to work, and I'm going to miss having collected all the gems. Or if I don't move forward enough, it'll really break things further down the line. So let's see if we can fix this a little bit. So we're going to tap down here and select a few things. Get rid of that code. Get rid of that code. Okay, so now we've got the code that we had originally. So let's see. So if we start at the very beginning, or actually, let's see, let's add it down here. So you can see in the autocomplete bar now, we have a new item called 4. So if we tap that, it builds a little loop for us. So we just looked at the sides here, and we want to do it 4 times. So let's tap that and pick 4. And now a really nice feature of Swift Playgrounds is that you can grab these braces. If we tap on one of these braces, the whole thing is highlighted in blue, and we have this really nice little sort of 2 dots at the bottom, right? So what we can do is we can drag this around code. So let's drag this thing. If we tap on the blue and drag over to the side, it's not going to work for me. What we'll do is we'll cheat a little bit here. We're going to copy that, delete it, I just tapped just at the start of the M, and what I'm gonna do is tap again on that blinking blue cursor and paste it. So now let's try that again. So we're gonna tap on the curly braces. What I can do is drag on the 2 dots down and add all this stuff into my for loop. Now that's a nice little feature of Swift Playgrounds, is this ability to drag your for loop around some other code that's underneath it. The other thing I could have done is I could have said, actually, I have a for loop here. We'll do it 4 times. And then I could have tapped on that blue code thing and actually just started typing in my new code there. And now you'll notice when I tap on this for loop, so I tapped on the brace here to turn it blue, I can now hit delete and it'll delete everything, the for loop and the code inside the for loop. All right, so now I have my for loop. I'm going to do it 4 times. Let's try running that and see how that works out. All right, as before, we're going through the code again, collecting the gem, moving forward twice, 3 times, turning right, move forward, collect the gem. Okay, cool, we're on our second pass through. Collecting the gem. You can see that this looks a lot neater than our previous one where we had this thing repeated 4 times and we had so many more lines of code. This is much easier to read, and if I make a mistake in here, it's okay. I can just fix it in one spot, and then every single instance of the pattern, every time I call that, each of the 4 times, it'll do the same thing and it'll take my change. All right, cool. So now we know how to add loop structures. So let's move on to the next puzzle. All right, to the edge and back. So we have to go again, like we've done with a few puzzles last week, and we're doing again this week. It's a lot about finding our patterns. So we've got to fix this puzzle here. So we need to just toggle on all the switches that are toggled off right now. So how are we gonna break this one down? Well, let's see. The easiest way might be to go out, toggle the switch, come back, and then turn left, and then repeat that again and again. Maybe. We could probably write a function that will say turn out, toggle, and come back. Just to try to keep our code all in one place. Let's try that out. So you can see down here we have our func keyword. So let's try solving the first one anyway. Func, we're going to call it go out, toggle, and come back. Okay, now that might look like a really long function name, and you might think, oh, why did you type so many letters? Could we not just call it go out? Or G, even just one letter? That'd be great. Because remember, programmers are lazy. Well, we're lazy in some respects. I personally prefer spelling out my function names and making them very explicit. It's a pattern that Apple follows in all their frameworks, and it makes it a much nicer function to use, because then I'll know what this is going to do. I'm going to go out, toggle, and come back. So I know that I'll probably go 1, 2, toggle, and then turn around, and then come back. So let's start writing our code for that. So move forward, toggle switch. Now we're turning around, so I'm going to come down here and swipe over to the left. All right, turn left to turn around, and then move forward, and then what did I say? We would turn left. Let's turn left. So now we should have gone out, come back, and then we'll be facing that way. So let's try it. Let's try calling our new function. Because remember, if we hit run code, watch what'll happen. Nothing, right? Except maybe this hint button got a little bit bigger. because we didn't call this function yet. We just told Swift, hey, remember this for later. So let's hit the go out, toggle, and come back function. And now let's run my code. So we're going to pop out to the edge, jump on the switch. Now it's on. Turn around and come back. All right. Okay. Cool. Now we're facing, when we turn left, actually, now we're facing this way. Okay. Cool. Great. Now if we called go out, toggle, and come back again, let's try running that a little faster to see how we get on. So byte runs out there, jumps on the toggle switch, turns, jumps on that one. Okay, cool. Comes back, turns left. Okay, great. All right, we got 2 more to go. So we could add 2 more go out, toggle, and come back. That's not too painful. Or we could use a for loop, like we're trying to learn about in these sessions. So let's go back up to the top here. I just tapped at the end of this, off the edge of this brace here, and then I hit the return key down here. So I'm going to tap on the for autocomplete button. And now, again, we've got 4 of these switches we want to toggle, so we'll tap 4. I've been very smart by putting this above, so I'll tap on my brace and drag down. And we only really want 1 of these, so we'll just tap on the other go out, toggle, and come back calls and hit delete. And let's hit run, and we'll step through my code to watch what's happening. Okay, so we're calling go out, toggle, and come back. So now we're running through our code. Toggle switch, turn left, move forward, and then we're going to turn left again. Cool. Then we go back down into our loop and we call it again. So we hop back up here. Move forward. Okay, good. We're back basically where we've been so far. Now we jump into the loop again. Our 3rd time through, we call that function again. Nice, and we do our turn left again, and now we're calling it for the very last time. We're running our loop. Turning back. Nice. Cool. We're getting the hang of it. All right. Looking good. Looking good. So there are a few different ways we can skin this cat, as it were. Like I said, there's many different ways you can solve a particular puzzle. In this case, we used a function. We tried to keep it very lean. Our for loop looks super clean because it's only calling 1 function. We could have said, actually, do you know what? I don't need a function for this. I could have just taken all of these. Let's select all of them. Copy those. We could have said, you know what? Let's just put these inside a for loop. So we'll create a for loop. We'll do it 4 times. Inside the code here, we're just going to paste all of our lines of code. This would do the same exact thing. Both of these 2 here and here are the same thing. I personally like this a little bit better because I've grouped all my functions and my commands into 1 block, so I know exactly what it's going to do. It tells me go out, toggle, and come back. Now, I could have been nice to myself. If we use this particular solution, we could have said, actually, we'll group these together to leave a comment like I left in my code that I showed off at the very beginning. If you tap this button to bring up the keyboard, you can either tap on the C and drag down to get the slash, or you can hit this 1, 2, 3 button. And now you can see there's the slash. So hit it once, hit it twice. And now anything I type after this, Swift is going to ignore. This is more for the programmer than anything else. So I would leave a note to myself saying, this code goes out, toggles the switch, and comes back. And you can see all of that is green to let me know that the Swift is just going to ignore this particular thing here. Now, if I said, oh, actually, after this switch, I want to put a break. Now, if I try running this, you'll see that I'm going to have an issue. So in this case, this word switch happens to mean something in Swift. So it tried to interpret that as a switch keyword, but it's not right from a point of view of syntax. So I would need to, if I want things to work properly, I would need to add a couple of those slashes at the beginning to say that, hey, this is a comment, ignore it. Don't try to treat it like computer code. Okay, so that's a quick introduction to for loops. We'll go into those again a little bit more tomorrow. Things are starting to pick up a little bit more quickly now. We're getting into more advanced programming concepts. If you do get stuck, it's helpful to go over the videos that we made the previous weeks or Bill Chapman's videos. And hit the forums. If you have any questions, drop me a line through the codehub.ie website with questions or with a request to go over something again. Maybe you didn't get it. Maybe you're not quite set up at home right. And we'll try our best to help you out and get you going. All right. So until tomorrow, we'll see you.